here. Okay, well, welcome everyone to tonight's magic show. I think I've pretty much worn out my welcome on why we call them magic shows, but let's see if we can't get some magic happening here tonight. The background looks different because I am at one of my wife and I's 2 wilderness properties. And I was just telling Dan the story. I almost bit off more adventure than I could. It's hard to really see out there, but that lake is frozen tight. There is snow out there, and I almost didn't get here, but I'm here and things are underway. So let's see if we can't get our program for tonight underway. So tonight's concept is the roadmap to success. Let's see if I can get the slideshow working. And Dan, are we looking at the roadmap to success? Thumbs up. Yes, well, I wanted to test that because of the internet situation. So for those of you that are watching this on the recording, we are a coach consulting company that really focuses on who you are as a human being and business professional, because those 2 things are hand in glove together. And as a result of that awareness and the work that we do there, you're going to end up with more time off, a higher quality of life, and more dollars in your bank account is the most common results we see. Our current return on investment for dollars invested in the coaching is 347%. And we're super proud of that because we would feel like hypocrites suggesting that we could help you grow your business if we couldn't. So we keep track of those stats. We've seen it as high as 2,560% is the highest we've ever seen. That was a guy who was a doc who was doing extremely well, high 6-figure practice that went into the mid 7s. So pretty happy about those results. This is actually the roadmap. This is the tool that we use, and we're going to do a deep dive on that tonight, you guys. Our roadmap is a proprietary system that I developed that shows the main movers, the main shakers. After 26 years as of this recording of coach consulting work, I know what the main movers and shakers are for people relative to our model, which is vision, focus, systems, and team. And depending upon where people are at, there's different things to focus on, different things to work through. You can imagine this is like 3 rungs on a ladder, starting at the bottom, or foundation in a house, first story, second story. You can't climb a ladder if you can't touch the first rung. You can't build a square, beautiful home if you don't have a solid foundation. So we pretty much to this point have always started folks on the foundation area of our roadmap and or ensured that their foundation was super strong, because occasionally we do see that. But even people have been working with us for years, we still circle back to the foundation. Now, I still circle back to the foundation on a regular basis and make sure that I'm manifesting things in my absolute ideal down here. So on average, and there's exceptions to rules, you guys, of course, but on average, folks working through the clarity phase, the bottom rung of the ladder, they're taking home between $5,000 and $20,000 a month. The second rung of the ladder, those are related but different things to focus on and to move the needle. And those folks are on average bringing in 20 to 40K a month. And the final rung of the ladder is what we call legacy. These are folks that are usually a little bit later in their careers, although not always. We got one doc right now that we're working with who's only been in practice 15 years and she's working on her legacy. So anyways, but most folks are there that are been in practice a little bit longer, and they're working on, again, related but different issues, right? So again, you know what, whether you're talking about Google Maps or you're, old enough like I am to where you actually used to have one of those big ass folded maps, right? That you'd take out in the car and then you couldn't see the windshield and stuff, right? It's helpful to have a map to know where the heck you're going. Because if you don't have a map, it's improbable that you might get lost. You might go in circles. You might just stop and stare at a sign because you don't know which way to go. Having a map to tell you where you want to go and how to get there, 100% game changer. I don't care what stage of life or practice that you're in. So let's get in and talk about the roadmap to success tonight. Here are some of the most common frustrations that I see from people that come into our coaching programs. One of the things that they absolutely dislike and hate is they hate wasting time. Every doc that I've ever worked with is super busy, and they're wanting to find ways to not be so busy, but without compromising patient care, without compromising the dollars and revenue that comes out the other side of that. They, have issues around quality of life many times because they're just, glued to their tables and stuff, So again, when you're running that flat out, of course you don't want to waste any friggin' time, right? So one of the things that the roadmap does is it helps solve that because you have absolute direction, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. And of course, tied to that is, what do I do? Because when you're, the definition of sanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So if the structure of the business is the same, if the people in it are the same and they're doing the same stuff, the probability of growth is actually super small. So, the first mandate of biology is survival of the species. And part of that mandate is energy conservation, because, if you're going to get into fight or flight and you might have to run away from a saber-toothed tiger, it's like, you want to be sure you got reserves to do that. So it's biologically hardwired into us as human beings to do nothing if we don't know what the heck we're supposed to be doing. And so this question I get, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And they don't know what to do, so they stay stuck, right? And they procrastinate. Wow, there is the word of the day, right? There are lots of folks that procrastinate on a regular basis. And again, I would offer that it's not that bad of a thing. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, it's possibly better to procrastinate and do nothing than to enthusiastically take off in the wrong direction, right? And I forget it was who I first heard that, enthusiastically going in the wrong direction, but it just made me smile because I've seen so many people doing that, busting their butt and going in chasing their tail or chasing the next shiny new marketing thing or the next shiny new idea that they heard some friend at a seminar or some of their buddies from school or something, right? Which may not be values related to them, may not serve them at all, but seemed like a good idea. So away they go. So again, I'm not suggesting that I'm validating and suggesting that procrastination is a great thing. I'm just saying that there are times where if you don't know what to do, you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there, it might actually be a useful thing. And here is the end piece. This is the big fear that I just hear people say all the time. And I just love my admin pulled this one up. I just love it. They just are so afraid of staying stuck, right? No one wants to be called insane. No one wants to do the same thing over and again and expect a different result, right? So staying stuck in your rut is, I don't know, not something that anybody that I've ever met values highly. But we do want some things, right? We do want to know what to do. And when we've got direction, I was talking to a client the other day, doing a game plan with her. And she goes, Tom, you got to understand that when I know what to do, I'm a house of fire. I manifest like a crazy person. I can do lots of stuff. I just need to know what to do. I said, well, you're in the right spot because our game plan is going to help you get super clear about what to do. And for those who don't know, we do those every 90 days for our clients, right? Because tied to what to do is also when to do it, right? Those two things are actually quite interrelated. The knowing what to do is important, but there's also a timing and a sequence thing. And actually, you know what? This is just to get on my soapbox, but yet again, you guys tend to do that a lot. But I was one of the few clients that I still adjust. I don't have that many, as I haven't been out of active practice. I still see half a dozen people out of the family room, but that's a hobby. That's not a practice. But I was working with this client the other day, and I was talking about sequence and was talking about when to do different parts of the adjustment sequence, right? And I offer this, you guys, just try this on. This is not so much tied to the roadmap to success, but just try this on because it really fit well in my mind and it fit well for this patient, this client. So I said, one of the jobs of the nervous system, its main job, besides maintaining homeostasis, self-healing, self-regulating, is to adapt us to our environment, right? Both externally and internally. Well, by definition, a chiropractic adjustment is an input of energy from the outside in. Whoa, we got some bad background noise. If we could just get a mute there, that's great. I think Ruth's grinning. I'm thinking it might have been Ruth. So again, it's an input of energy, right? And so just think about it. You've been with somebody for working with them and doing the same thing year after year after year. I would suggest that it's probable or possible that their nervous system has adapted to the input. They've adapted to the energetics of what you're doing. and either changing the form with which you're doing it or changing the sequence with which you do it, because it truly is an input of energy. So an input of energy, like a voice, like words are an input of energy, right? So if you give somebody bad news followed by good news versus good news followed by bad news, exact same information, but just change the sequence, you could completely change how they respond to that. So I'm a big fan, you guys, of just having that awareness and changing the sequence. So one of the techniques that I use is a crane condyle lift, and it's a very high energy move. And this particular person, she's had a L5S1 discotomy, and so she's got a lot of that. Seems to be like her weak link in her system. And so doing that coronal plane sort of adjustment really seems to help her. But doing it in which sequence, when to do it. So I said, let's try an experiment. Let's do that first, and then we'll do the other pieces that we would normally do, some of the other protocols, my upper cervical protocols and stuff. And she came back like after 2 weeks, and she'd been to a Bible revival. She goes, I could tell that internally things continue to shift for days and days and days and days after. And she goes, this is the best couple of weeks that I've had in a long time. So shameless plug, you guys, for checking sequence and knowing when to do things, whether you're talking about doing things in your business or your life, or whether you're talking about doing things, on a day-to-day basis, with a patient. Because here's what everybody wants. Everybody wants that. It doesn't necessarily have to be nuclear, missile straight up growth, but everybody wants to know that they've got a guarantee of growth. That if they're, moving their feet, if they're being wise, they're working smart, not just hard, and they're moving down the path, that there's growth at the other end of that. And that is exactly, you guys, what a roadmap does. Is it helps you get that absolute clarity about what to do, when to do it, so that you can get that growth that you're looking for. Okay. So let's get and talk about one of our very lovely clients, Dr. Kira Bailey. Dr. Kira's here in Ontario. And when I brought the roadmap idea up, and Kira's been a client of ours for quite a while, she really felt like this could be a saving grace, because before we built the roadmap into her coaching, she was in a state of overwhelm almost all the time, because and burning out as a result, because there was just this endless effing to-do list all the time, right? Kira's super smart, lots of ideas, but what to do, where, and when in order to get the biggest bang for her buck of energy and time, not clear, right? So she just had this super long list, and it didn't seem to matter how much she tackled on it. There was just, more to do, right? So what started to happen then is that she was focusing on what we call the gap, not the gain, right? And I brought this up on several other magic shows, but it bears repeating in my opinion, right? Because the idea behind the gap and the gain is, and I'll use myself as an example, because even though I know Kira quite well, I know myself better. I love being on the beach in, say, Florida, and you're looking out on the horizon and you see the sun and you're watching it set or whatever, just fantastic. And I tend to be that future oriented person, and I'm looking forward all the time. And I love to look out to the horizon, love to be able to see a distance. At the lake house where I'm at right now, although the lake's frozen as of this recording, I can see somewhere between 2 and 4 kilometers down the lake. I love that. I love looking out to the horizon. But the downside to looking at the horizon, you guys, is that regardless of how far you go, you never get any closer. The horizon's always that far away. So if you're using that future tense all the time in your business, it doesn't matter how much you do, how many to-dos you stroke off the list, you're never getting any damn closer. And you're focusing on the gap between you and the horizon all the time. Versus turning around, you guys, looking backwards at all of the amazing stuff you've manifested and focusing on the gain, right? The psychology of that, you guys, is absolutely huge. So after we implemented this roadmap concept with Kira, all kinds of cool things started to change, right? Her confidence started to go up. People that are confident and certain that who they are, what they're doing, and how they're doing it, and when they're doing it is appropriate for them. Boom. Now you've got velocity and you have efficiency, right? A lot easier decision making because you could see the sequence of things. Again, if you were going to, I'm up here in Northern Canada and Ontario. If I was headed to Florida, right, I would, it would be wise to know that I have the map and that, there's, there goes Toronto and there goes, Buffalo, and there goes whatever the heck is on the route down to Florida, depending upon which of the 3 main routes you would take, right? So, and then it would be simple to know that, you're headed in the right direction. And then as a result of that, this really accurate starting point with a super clear final destination, right? So again, really appreciate Kira sharing me her thoughts on this. I asked her if she could sort of summarize it. I thought she'd give me like a little point form thing. She wrote this whole like 2-page document. It was so cool. And then we just had pulled some of the bullet points out, from that, right? So here are the 5 keys to designing a roadmap. And what I want is for everybody on this call, and I don't want to have anybody feel guilty or shame, but shame if you're not watching this on a recording, you're not able to get here live. Because what I want from this is I want you to be able to come out of this with your own roadmap. Certainly, and some people have said to me, say, Tom, you're sharing kind of proprietary stuff here. Why are you doing that? I said, well, because there's an old saying that says a rising tide raises all boats, right? And invariably, there's people that say, hey, you know what? I want help implementing this plan. And then they turn to us and that builds that relationship. So, we're happy to do this, right? So one of the very first keys to this whole thing, you guys, we're going to go into a lot more depth on this, but you need to know your destination. And this is one of my little sayings, building blocks rule. At the stage of this recording, I've got 3 grandchildren and my almost 3-year-old. Man, I tell you, that kid and Lego blocks and other types of foam blocks, just building blocks rule when you're 3, but also when you're building a successful business. We're going to talk about Pareto's principle. And then, of course, we're going to show you the roadmap to success. And we're going to be starting with vision. So let's get in. The key to, there's no sense having a roadmap, you guys, whether you're talking about an old-fashioned automobile trip or whether you're talking about a business experience. You got to know where you want to end up, right? You got to know where you're going to end up, or else, you got a map of friggin' Singapore or Hong Kong or Germany or something, and you're in North America. Well, that sucks. That's not going to help you at all. And then, let's just use a roadmap of North America. Well, there's a big difference between going to Portland, Oregon and going to Tampa, Florida, right? So the very first step in building a successful roadmap is you must know your destination. You got to know very clearly what your quality of life, what you want your quality of life to look like, how your business supports that. And then we call it your magic number, where you design your magic number and look at exactly how big, small, your business you want to build as it relates to both the fulfillment you get out of serving humanity at a high level and the beautiful kickoff of that, which is financial rewards, right? So getting that absolute crystal clarity is absolutely step number 1, okay? Step number 2, building blocks rule. I already said this earlier, right? But let me just extrapolate. Knowing what to do and when to do it is super important, as I've already stated. But if you think about it like building blocks, right? How one step builds on the next one. And when I designed our roadmap at Full Circle, man, I tell you, I did a lot of thinking on that. It was literally took me a long time to put that all together, because I wanted to get super, super clear on all of my years of experience. The point I designed the roadmap, 25 years experience. What was the sequencing? What was the stepping stone? Because if you get, a building block out of order, the whole damn thing comes tumbling down, right? Or at the very least, you're going to slow the process down. So recognizing that, inch by inch, it's just inch, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, and how one step builds on top of the other one. I'll go back to the ladder analogy, you guys, on that one. One step, obviously builds on the next one, right? So again, just knowing that and accepting that and acknowledging that and embracing that. And that was a lot of it. That's really key when we're thinking about building blocks, okay? Now, Pareto's principle is the 80-20 principle, right? And Pareto's that famous, I reference him a lot. He was a famous Italian economist many years ago. I believe it was in the 1600s, 1700s. Who realized, and the Real Reader's Digest version of it is that 20% of what you do gives you 80% of your results. Okay, 20% of what you do gives you 80% of your results. So if you can focus on what that 20% is, focus on doing more of that specifically, you'll work less hours, you'll get more results in quicker time. So again, as you build a roadmap, it's important to know what is that 20% that gives you those kind of results. And again, we'll go through and help you build a roadmap tonight, right? It's super, super important. And this actually ties to the very first key, you guys, which is know your destination. you must start with vision. If you're not super clear about where you're going, right? And your vision for your life, you're probably going to develop a roadmap that has you think you're headed to Tampa, Florida, and you end up in Portland, Oregon, right? Or, Fernie, BC, or to use a Canadian analogy, right? Because you've got to get clear about why you want to go to those cities using that, what kind of a business you want to build, why you want to build that, how it's going to serve your needs, as well as serve your community, as well as serve your soul in terms of the fulfillment you get out of, serving at that high level, right? And then, of course, here is the roadmap, you guys. So this is a pretty cool graphic that my admin team put together based upon the first rung of the full circle ladder, right? Now, again, for clarity, there's 3 rungs to the full circle ladder. So this is only 1 rung of the ladder. But again, we don't have time to get into all 3 rungs tonight because of the time limitations we have. So what we did was we broke it down into just the first step, just that clarity step, right? And these are, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the 12 steps that if you follow them in sequence and really nail these pieces tight, you will grow. You will grow and you will surpass that clarity phase, which financially will look like, more than 20K per month in net take home, which will move you into the manifestation level, which is a whole other section of the puzzle. It's almost like manifestation would be the far right of this picture, you guys, right? So again, we start with vision. And then the very, very, very first thing that we want to know is, said different ways, is what do I want, right? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to look like? Get that absolute crystal clarity. There's a exercise and a series of tools we use to help get that crystal clarity. But that's, step 1 on it. So if you're someone that's taking notes, you're a note taker, that wants to develop your own roadmap, then I would encourage you to, take a screenshot of this if you know how to do that, or just, jot yourself some notes. But step 1 of the 12 steps, what do I want? Crystal clear vision for your business. Step 2 is, how do you define success personally, right? You can't hit a target you can't see. So if you're not crystal clear on what your definition of success is across all the aspects of the hologram of life, it's improbable/impossible that you'll ever be a success in your ideal, which, let's be clear, you guys, right? That's the only ideal that matters, is yours for you. Mine for me, yours for you. This BS cookie cutter bullshit that I see propagated out there in the profession, say, you know what, somebody stands up on the platform and goes, woohoo, look at me, I'm wonderful, I have a great life, I have a great business, and if you just copy what I did, you'll be great too. And my comment to that is, the best I could hope to be is a cheap imitation of them instead of an original, authentic version of me. And I'll tell you what, I'll take an original, authentic version of me or you any day of the week versus some bullshit cookie cutter. I really have no patience for that. Sorry, end discussion. Get out of the locker room, Tom. Enough bad language. Number 3, you guys, is you got to know your numbers. You must know your numbers. My daughter is a new Cairo, not, only been out a year and a half or so. And again, it's in her DNA to know this stuff, but she's been talking to some of her different friends from college and stuff. And oh my goodness, here's these young docs out there a year and a half or so, and they haven't got a clue about what numbers they want to have. The numbers they have are appropriate or not. Somebody's in the background. Could they mute their line, please? That would be really helpful. Appreciate that. So yeah, you got to know your numbers, you guys. You got to know exactly how many new practice members do you want to see every week or every month? How many service visits, patient visits do you want to see? What's your target PVA? What's your revenue that's coming from that? What's your net profit that's coming from that, right? All of those basic things. What's your case average? So you know how much money to put into marketing. Lots of details there. You got to know your numbers. All right, so that would give you the leg up to get rolling on the vision side. And on the focus side, the very first step there is to stay focused, right? If you're just constantly squirrel and you're walking out of frame because you're just chasing the next shiny thing, it's improbable that you're going to be able to get going. Imagine driving using the roadmap scenario, right? I love it actually when I use Google Maps or Waze, because, you get this sexy, this sexy electronic female Australian voice who says, basically tells me that I'm going in the wrong direction, and recalculating, she says, right? Because I'm off track. Well, if you're not staying focused, of course you're going to get off track, right? And in the old days of the old, paper maps, right? You get off focus, you might end up in Albuquerque instead of, where you want to go. So there's some really specific exercises in our roadmap, which I'll show you in a minute, to help with that. Second step of focus, you guys, is effective time management. And again, notice the key word there, effective time management. So many people I see waste so much time in their business just doing, not focusing on the 80-20 principle, not doing the 20% that gives you 80% of the results, but just being busy. I saw a stat in chiroeconomics years ago that was quite telling, I thought. It was saying that the average doc was in their practice 44 hours a week, okay? And the average doc took 1.5 weeks of holidays a year. God bless them if that's their ideal, but I can tell you, I have yet to, talk to somebody who's considering working with us that said, yeah, you know what? One of my dreams is to take less holidays. Never heard it. Maybe they're out there. I've just never heard it, right? But I remember talking to this one young doc who's considering coaching with us, and I said, how many hours are you in the clinic? She goes, 48. And I said, oh, you're an overachiever. Average 44. And of course, my clinic, I was in there for, 25 to 27. But anyways, that was me based upon my values. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that was my target. So when she said 48, it's like, wow, that seems like a lot of hours. And I said, okay, so how many people do you love to see per hour? She goes, well, I love to see 6 people an hour. I said, okay. So I'm running the numbers in my head. I'm thinking, okay, 48 hours. Even if she's doing admin and marketing and other stuff and extended appointments, she's still there 40 hours. So even at 6 an hour, that's 240 visits a week. So I said, well, so, how are things going? Like, what's your volume right now? She goes, well, I'm seeing about 25 a week. I said, 25 patient visits? And she goes, yeah. I said, how long have you been in practice? She goes, 8 years. I said, wow, sorry. Is that your ideal? She goes, oh, hell no. I said, well, then, what are you doing in there? Because if you do the math at 6 an hour and you're seeing 25 people, that's about 4.5 hours of adjusting. Add a couple hours for extended appointments. I said, that's like 6, 7, let's round it up to 8 hours a week. I said, what are you doing with the other 40 hours? She goes, I just sit there and stare at the phone, willing it to win. No, that is not effective time management. Not recommended in any way, shape, or form. So again, there's structure to how to be an effective time manager. The third aspect of focus, which is the sixth aspect of the game plan, if you're building one of these out, right, is certainty that you can deliver the goods. Certainty that you can deliver the goods. That when you're laying out a treatment plan for somebody, and then you're they're under your care, is that you know with absolute certainty that you can deliver the goods, that you can create the outcomes that you accepted them under care for, right? That's very key. That you know that you can create the outcomes that you accepted them under care for, because the one sort of extreme in the profession is that anybody with a pulse is a carpet patient, and then there's people on the other end of the spectrum who if they're not in dire straits, crisis care, then they don't qualify. And the vast majority of the profession is somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere between those two sort of extremes. But for whatever qualifiers you use to decide that this person is a candidate for your style of carpet care, you damn sure better be clear that you can deliver the goods. And there's certainly exercises that can help people flush that out. It's one of the things, the difference between, I find, real broad strokes between an experienced doc and a less experienced doc, because they just don't have that certainty yet. I would suggest, from what I've seen and certainly talking to my daughter and some of her classmates and stuff, some of the colleges actually try to beat it out of them, that and they come out of there so shaky and uncertain about what they can do that it really isn't a useful step forward. So sometimes it just takes some experience at seeing great results, right? I can remember very early in my career, you guys, her name was Shirley Coombs. God bless her. Shirley had been in my practice, and I didn't really own the big idea much in my early stage of practice coming out of the school that I did. And so it was much more of a sort of symptomatically focused practice. But even at that, Shirley says to me one day after she's been under care for about 5 or 6 weeks, she goes, Doc, is there anything you're doing that could be helping me with my acid reflux? And I'm like, uh-oh, Uh-oh, that's one of those visceral somatic reflex things. I don't know. I started spouting off PARETO'S research, and yes, maybe, and it could be, but I mean, basically, I tried to talk her out of it. I said, "Are you sure there isn't something else you've changed? Like minimize your stress? Did you change your nutrition? Is there something different you're doing?" And she's like, "Doc, there's nothing different I'm doing, but I'm coming to see you." And she said, "My husband just brought up to me the other day that I've been taking Tagamet for acid reflux for 11 years." And she goes, "I haven't taken one in almost 3 weeks. I just forgot because I don't need it apparently." And so she goes, "So you know what? Nothing else I'm doing, but I'm coming to see you and I'm getting adjusted. So is it okay with you if I just keep coming for the rest of my life?" And I'm like, "Sure. Yeah, that's okay. I think. Yeah." Man, I'm telling you, no certainty at all. Right. All right. Number 7, which is the first one of the 3 under the systems category, you guys, right? So again, let's be clear, vision, focus, systems, team. Focus are the blocks, the things that slow you down from the vision expressing. Systems are things that save you significant time, energy, and money. This is structure. This is a lot of people get to where they are in life because of their drive, their ambition, their charisma, their energy, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you will eventually hit your head on the glass ceiling and not go any farther, because you just eventually, there's only so many hours in a day and so much energy that you can manifest, right? So systems, the very first one is what we call the new patient pipeline, which is making sure that you've got marketing structured in order to ensure that there is a steady flow of new patients. And I like the idea of the pipeline, right? Because it's just flowing at all times. So making sure that you've got a diversified, multi-pronged approach to ensure that you have new patients coming down the pipeline regularly, absolutely key if you're building a proper roadmap. Number 2, effective onboarding of those new clients. It's one thing to have them come in the door. It's another thing to be able to effectively bring them up through, proper history, exam, report of findings, and so on, right to treatment protocols, treatment plans, and lay that all out for them in an effective way so that they get what it is that you do, why you do it, and they understand why they're in your office, how long they're going to be there, what the treatment plan is, what the outcomes are, and so on, right? Number 3 on that, structure and procedures. It's, you know what, I resisted this, you guys. I'm just an independent little cuss. My mom used to always say, "I hope you have one just like you," because I was just independent. And so business version of independence is where you're like, yeah, let me just fly by the seat of my pants and I'm just running and I'm doing my stuff, right? And it'll all work out. And then I'm running here and then I'm running there. And all you end up with is running in circles and end up getting tired, right? When you've got structure and procedures to orchestrate that, you use way less energy, you get way better results, right? So we're talking about policies and procedures for both your staff and your patients to make sure that structure and those rhythms run the business. So you don't have to be thinking about it all the time. Something even as simple, you guys, is, did I remember to tell Mrs. Jones, when her progress exams was? Did I remember to give Mr. Smith his exercises? Did I remember to call Mrs. Jones after her first adjustment, right? Like just structure and systems that run the business. Okay. Now let's move on to the team. So now we're coming in, we're taking the corner here at the bottom, right? Have this roadmap. And this would be, I guess, number 10 of 12, but the first one of the teams, right? You got to literally find a team to support your vision. There's only so far you can go on your own. And if you're there answering the phone and taking payments and booking appointments and doing adjusting and running scans and taking x-rays and doing all of that stuff, there's only so many people you can serve, right? There's only so much that you can actually do. So having a structure, and again, there's a whole other magic show on this, you guys, but never, ever hire. Hire is a 4-letter word. It's the worst of the 4-letter words. Never, ever hire. Recruit. But making sure that you understand how to recruit and having a structure. We have a 14-step protocol, you guys, for how to recruit an ideal team member. And I actually just rewrote that entire training. And there's a new video on that as well. So anyways, something that I know it makes a huge difference. In the old days, I used to try and just kind of hire, put an ad out somewhere, and whoever was kind of the best fit at the next few weeks was who I brought on. And it wasn't near as effective as when I started to recruit. So making sure you know how to do that and have a team to support your vision, super important. The next one, team that does know how to actually support the vision. So you got to bring them on board, find them, but then you have to be able to support them and teach them and inspire them and lead them so that they can actually support the vision, right? Which blends right into number 12, which is, again, inspiring and leading the team, right? Other parts here, you guys, are being a good delegator, right? And what goes with delegation is accountability. So making sure that you have accountability systems set up so that people actually follow through, on what they say they're going to do. These are definitely the keys to that. So again, our roadmap, you guys, this is the 12 steps that will take you from wherever you are to the next level. 3 vision, 3 focus, 3 systems, and 3 team. So, I'm going to just, let me see if I just advance this one. There is the full circle roadmap, you guys. And again, let's go back. What this is, you guys, what I just portrayed is because a lot of these words like core values and IKISW and bliss, most people don't have a clue what that means. But that's why when I went and shared, what core values do is helps you define what you want. And I know I am successful when IKISW is defining success for yourself, and bliss is knowing your numbers. But those, I'm presuming that those mean a lot more to you when I actually spell them out than when I'm using acronyms that are, succinct to our company, right? So again, we just ran through the clarity phase, you guys. There's a similar roadmap for the manifestation phase for those people focused on the 20 to 40K. And of course, there's a whole other map for the legacy level. So we got a few folks on here live. I'm just going to stop share for a brief moment. And if anybody has any questions, I'd love to see it in the chat. Or, you could come off, share your video because I see all this darkness on the screen. Thanks, Dan, for leaving your camera on. You're a rock star. Anybody have any questions, comments, or literally, I would love to know just in the chat, what has been most revealing so far? What's been most helpful so far? Let's see some fingers to the keyboard, gang, and let's just see what you feel has been the most helpful or revealing or affirming so far. Would love to see what shows up in the chat. This is the part where I would love to have that Jeopardy music or whatever it is, the Alex Trebek stuff, Do, 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 do. All right, come on. Let's get some fingers going on the keyboards, gang. I'm going to just hit a hard pause here until we can get some answers. I'd love to know what's been revealing, what's been affirming, what's been the most helpful thus far in our magic show. And I'm not sure if it's my satellite internet or you guys have got tired fingers, but I am not seeing anything come through in the chat just yet. So I am definitely, for those that got on a little late, I'm not at my usual office where I have super high speed stuff. I'm literally at the wilderness in my satellites, using a fire up satellite. So Dan says creating a roadmap has been the most helpful so far. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. All right, well, we'll see if anybody else chooses to get on board with the chat. I'll just leave it open for a minute, and let's go back and carry on with this journey here. And I think I need to be 100% crystal clear that I've got the right thing going on here. So let's go and get that all worked out here. So if we share and we hit slideshow, boom, the magic is going to happen. There is the full circle roadmap, the 3 levels of it. We just went through that other map, which was the expanded version of the clarity phase with the 12 steps that are there. If you're a note taker, you jotted down some notes there, you can build your own roadmap out of that structure for sure. Okay. So these are some of the, I shared with you guys as worksheets, the copy of the roadmap as well as our roadmap. And so, and then also this questionnaire. So I'm going to get you to go to that now. And I'm going to go and pull it up as well. Wow, I need to stop. I like it when I have both of my monitors, which I do not have when I'm in the wilderness, right? Eric says the reminder of where you're going. Yes, thank you for sharing that in the chat, Eric. That's fantastic. Okay, well, let's get back to our share here. And
is that not working?
Oh, that's not quite right. Hey, Dr. Derek, nice to have you.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
I did not want to. Yeah, that's okay. You can pick up the tail end of this on the recording. So I just want to make sure that I've got, wow, there is all kinds of things going on here. See what happens when I don't have both of my screens? I'm just feeling like I'm a little bit lost out here. So because I'm trying to get more than one thing happening at a time. So, I have lost my, let's just stop that share for a brief moment and we'll start over. Let's start over. And okay, can you guys see the, Dan, shake a head. Can you see the questionnaire on the screen?
No.
Thumbs up. Yeah, baby, look at that. So here is the exercise, you guys. Very simple. Oh, nope, you can't see it, Dan? Cannot see the questionnaire. Well, that is just not right. All right, let's just figure out why that is, because it should be here. Dum ba dum bum. You gotta love technology. Dun 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 da dum. Okay, let's see. What are we looking at on the screen right now? Dan, are you seeing the Full Circle logo and then a questionnaire?
Full Circle logo, visions, values, what do I want?
Perfect. You're seeing what I want you to see. That's great. Thank you for your help. So again, you guys, this questionnaire is designed for you to see how effective you are or where you're at relative to a roadmap. Okay. So what you're going to do is values is the word that we use, and what do I want is what's on that graphic that I just went through on the roadmap, right? And so you're just going to run through this questionnaire and you're just going to simply put a yes or a no as you go through this, right? So let's just do this together, right? Are you 100% clear who you are, what you want out of life, and the goals needed to achieve that life? Simply yes or no. Don't think too much. Jot it down. Or if you're not going to do this electronically, which is also fine, or you didn't print this out, just get a sheet of paper, write from 1 to 12, and put a yes or a no behind number 1. All right. Number 2, how I define success. I have a clear written definition of success in all areas of my life. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, I have a written financial plan for how to fund my vision for my life. Yes or no? You either do or you don't. Now watch some distinctions here, you guys, because I've heard people say, oh yeah, I have that. Do you have it in writing? No. Then you haven't got it. It's a fantasy. It's in your head, which is better than not having anything. You got to have it in writing, you guys, for it to be real. Under the focus side, staying focused. I have a system for grounding me and keeping me focused on a daily basis. I have a system for grounding me and keeping me focused on a daily basis. Right? Yes or no? Commonly referred to as one version of this, commonly referred to as a morning routine or morning ritual, power hour. Number 2 in the focus category, effective time management. I am intentional, keyword there, with how I use my time, and I have a written time management template that keeps me focused. Super important. Yes or no? Certain that you can deliver the goods. I have 100% certainty in my skills and ability to live the life of my dreams.
Yes.
I have 100% certainty in my skills and ability to live the life of my dreams. Yes or no? Under the systems questions, new patient pipeline. I have several reliable, there's a very important adjective, you guys, reliable external marketing systems that consistently attract the number of new clients I desire. I mean, whether that's 10 a month or 100 a month, isn't the point. It's the point is that you have that understanding and you have a structure and reliable systems to make that happen. On the onboarding side, effective onboarding. I have a reliable written system for onboarding new clients. It converts 99% to purchase my products and services, whatever that is for you. Okay. You either do or you don't. Yes or no? Policies and procedures, structure and procedures. I have clear and concise written policies and procedures for my clients and my team. Yes or no? Okay. And finally, as we bring it in for a landing, you guys, under the team, finding team support. I have a written system for recruiting ideal team members to support my vision. Yes or no? My team supporting my vision. I have written outcomes for every member of my team, so they're clear on how to support my vision. Written outcomes, not responsibilities, you guys, outcomes. What outcomes do they need to be achieved to be great at the role to support your vision? And finally, the last one, under leadership, inspiring leading the team. I have weekly team meetings with a written agenda to help me achieve my goals. Weekly team meetings. They could be 15 minutes. They could be 30. They could be 45. I do not recommend an hour. It's too long and boring. So do not recommend that. Yes or no? All right, here's what does all this mean, you guys, right? Well, if you've got 3 yes answers in any one section, vision, focus, systems, or team, you have great traction in that aspect of building business, and you're probably growing at the pace you desire. Now, somebody might have 3 yeses in vision, but not in team or not in systems or whatever. Maybe 3 in systems, but their vision isn't clear. So what my intention of doing this with you guys tonight was to give you clarity about why you want a roadmap, how to build a roadmap, the 12 absolutely most important steps from my 26 and a half year consulting career. And then figure out where your strengths are and where you need to be improved. Okay. If you got 2 yeses and a no in any one section, it means you got reasonable traction in that aspect of building your business. And if you focus more on that, one missing link in that section, you're going to really grow. If you got 1 yes and 2 no's in any one of those vision, focus, systems, team sections, you're going to really benefit from focusing on that particular area of the 4 areas to really grow your business. And if you got 3 no's in any one section, you either have no awareness of how that section would help you grow, or you've just not put any focus on it. One way or the other, the bad news is you suck at that important aspect of business growth. The good news is you got massive opportunity potential for growth. I mean, exponential growth. If you design a roadmap, get clear on how to do it, and then get rocking on that particular part of the puzzle that's out there. Now, the other thing I found, you guys, is the combined number of no's and yeses, right? So you could have 12 yeses, you could have 12 no's. So the split, you guys, is at the halfway point. If the combined number of no's is larger than yeses, it really implies you benefit from hiring a coach to assist you. And of course, I just happen to know an incredible team. Oh yeah, that's right, that's my team. So all right, you guys, that is how that document is designed to be used. Does anybody have any questions about that, or is that relatively straightforward? Really open to taking some questions for anybody that has them. I'm either doing a hell of a good job. You guys are tongue tied. Derek, what do you got for me, sir?
Well, right now I'm kind of a 2 out of 3 on all those topics, so there's definitely room for improvement. And hi, Dan, haven't seen you for a while.
Haven't seen you forever.
Yeah. And what's interesting about it is, as I mentioned to you before, when I was doing coaching before, obviously you're more or less following all those things, and the practice runs very, very smoothly. And I'd say there's less stress because it's more organized. But in the last couple of years, not blaming COVID or anything, but we dropped out of the coaching, and you can just see how things start falling apart. So it's so obvious to me that coaching is an incredibly important part of keeping a business going strong, even when you're doing well. That's just my opinion on it. So anyway.
Well, I happen to share that that view, and if somebody asked me to the degree, Derek, that I've been a success, and everything's relative in life, right? But to the degree I've been a success in life and business, so what's one of the keys for you, or the key? It's investing in good coaching relationships throughout my entire career, right? And I agree with you. People often think that, it's only when I'm in a crisis that I need to consider getting coaching. And certainly that's when some people reach out. But you know what? I remember this guy got one of the largest practices that I've ever appraised in Canada. There aren't that many, $1 million plus practices in Canada that I've come across, right? There's a few. But this one out in Calgary that I appraised, and he was an old coaching client of mine. And I remember, we'd get to, deciding whether we've done what we needed to do, have we completed our work together? And he goes, Coach, just knowing that you're out there and that you're holding me accountable, he says, that's worth the price of admission every year. I went, well, that's pretty damn simple. So I thought that was pretty fantastic. And Dr. Eric, hey, buddy, you said there's all no's, 12 no's. That's okay. We're on the right path. And now that you do have a great coaching team at your back, we're going to help you get exactly where you want to go. So yeah, no, Derek, you're definitely, preaching to the choir over here. My coach out of Australia right now is an interesting guy, and I just love that Australian accent. It just makes it so much easier to follow along with. And of course, you know what? It's interesting, you guys, as I think about, the money I've invested in coaching and the ROI on it versus investing in bonds or stocks or mutual funds or even real estate. There's nothing that's ever given me the ROI that both in terms of finances and quality of life. Right. And quality of life to me is super important. So, all right, let's bring this baby in for a landing, you guys, right, tonight on the roadmap. Here's my recommendation. For God's sakes, don't get lost. Okay. Like, don't feel like you're wandering aimlessly in the desert and you're just going to end up getting lost, not knowing where to go, what to do. For heaven's sakes, design yourself a roadmap or reach out for help if you need help to implement that. There's the roadmap. And for some of you, like, again, I said this earlier, I love sharing ideas. A rising tide raises all boats. And my intention is that everybody in this call designs a roadmap to help them not get lost, to know exactly what their destination is and exactly the steps to get there. But if you're somebody that would love to would like to talk to us about maybe getting some coaching to help you implement that plan or to help flush out that roadmap in more details, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. For those of you who don't have my private email, it's such a super simple one. It's drtom at, and then this is long the first time you type it in, but fullcirclecoachingandconsulting.com. Dr. Tom at fullcirclecoachingandconsulting.com. Reach out. I'd be very happy to do a 15-minute brainstorm with you, review your roadmap with you, give you some tips about how to improve it and or how to implement it, and go from there. All right. So the coach in me goes, you know what? A goal without a deadline is just a wish. A goal without a deadline is just a wish. So if you're someone that's going to create yourself a roadmap, then let's get clear about exactly when that's going to be put in space and time. Okay. So these magic shows happen on average every 2 weeks, you guys. Currently, they're happening on Thursday evenings at 7:30 Eastern Standard. And next in 2 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you another 4-letter word. But this 4-letter word blocks your growth in business. Okay. And once you really get what that 4-letter word is, and I'm going to help you understand what it is, how it shows up in your life, and how the heck to get rid of it, right? So that you can get on that velocity curve that you want to get on. So that's May 5th, 2022, as of this recording. And there'll be, if you're here tonight, you're watching this recording, I'm sure you're on our list and you'll get that sign up registration piece, you guys. So thanks for your time and attention, everybody. It's a real honor to be able to share these ideas. This is the first time, it's a first for me, you guys, to have done one of these trainings in the wilderness. Literally, the closest human being to where I am right now is at least 65 or 70 kilometers away. So people who don't like solitude, they think I'm effing nuts. But you know what? I love the peace and quiet. I love the solitude. I love nature. It's just so easy for me to see the creator when I'm out here. So it's fantastic. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts before we wrap for tonight?
I have one question for you. Do you
Please
have specific training for the chiropractic assistants?
Yes, we do. 100% we do. Yep.
Is that a part of your
That's very good.
program?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yes, it is actually, Derek. We aren't so anal to make it like mandatory that people have their admin team trained while they're getting coaching with us, but like damn near, right? Because we just find, Derek, right, that when the whole team's getting coaching, then the growth is so much easier, right? When the doc's getting coaching and the admin team isn't, it's like the telephone game. Like the doc's getting lots of new ideas and perspectives and working on things, but the team's kind of lagging, right?
Oh, yeah,
we find it way more advantageous to have a team coached.
Dan, what did Dan say?
I said it's a very good very good teaching program.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and our head admin trainer, Shazia, she's got 20 something, 4 something, I forget how many years of experience as a front desk, office manager. And she's been our head admin trainer now for 6 years or 7 years. she's trained hundreds of offices. So yeah, she's a superstar. I could definitely put you in touch with her, Derek, or you know what, because I know we're working on the succession plan right now. As we work through that, I mean, maybe we'll have some other conversations. I'm really happy to do that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody else have any questions? I see an iPhone. I see Bill. I see another Derek. I see Dr. Olson. And Eric, you know what? If you're naked, don't come off. Don't put your video on, buddy. That's okay. We'll wrap it up for there. Dan, thanks for your help tonight with the thumbs to make sure without my two screens, I wasn't sure if I was showing you guys what I wanted to, but everybody, thank you so much for being here, for taking your time and your attention. For those watching this on the recordings, don't want to guilt you and shame you, but you know what? You can ask live questions like Derek just did and comments like Dan was sharing, you know, if you get here live. So again, happy to field those questions later. Better to be here live. No shame.
Just yell, I'm alive.
All right, you guys. Everybody enjoy your evening. We'll talk real soon, okay? Good night,
Okay,
everybody.
thanks. Thanks, Dr. Tom. Bye, Dan.